You've probably heard these horror stories, but now you're going to see it. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today we're going to check out a pretty interesting 53 Les Paul. However, something is not quite right about this thing. So first photo here, I nearly mistook this as a silver top finish that might have aged a little bit. In fact, that would have been really cool had Gibson actually did that back in the day, because silver can almost age gold in certain circumstances. So clearly that's the first thing that stood out to me on this one. But it looks like we've got a nice deep dish carve on it. We've got original style knobs, we've got cream plastics with two P90 pickups, some sort of a wrap tail piece. However, there's definitely been some sort of a modification going on here because that's not exactly like what came stock original. But this next photo, I'm digging it. We've got the natural back and sides with that very light gold top. It gives it an interesting hue because that matches with your fretboard. Usually when you're dealing with a refinished guitar, they just go all gung-ho crazy and refinish the entire thing. So that was a nice surprise. And looking at our price tag over here of $15,000, I mean, that seems about right for an asking price of a refin one of these. But what else do we have here? It appears we have a refret on our original Brazilian rosewood fretboard. Our inlays are looking like the right stuff. Our headstock, it's pretty beat up, but you know, it's from 1953. What do you really expect? At least it does not appear that the headstock has been reamed out for Grovers or anything. You've got your low logo. However, moving on to the backside of the headstock, you can see those are not the original tuners, but the neck has some pretty interesting figuring going on here. But then zoom in on your serial number. It looks like whoever reworked this did it at a point in time where keeping the serial number was of utmost importance, because they just completely masked it off. That's why there's a visible rectangle around there. Okay, so 3 definitely confirms a 1953 production date. But you guys know me, I want to just feature a refinished 53 that has a couple of replaced parts and average play wear on the show. There's gotta be something more to this thing. And that something more is... Oh no. I've heard about these and I've seen a couple of them, but it's never not a shock to find this. So somebody's put screws all over the back of your guitar. Is that what's wrong? No, this is an entirely new back, which means something has happened to our original mahogany body here. Reading the description, this is just a chipboard backplate that has been lacquered. Now with our edges intact, it just means something has happened to the very back. Perhaps somebody didn't like the buckle rash that was there. It's kind of like some Gretsch guitars. They have that giant leather cushioning system on the back to help prevent stuff like that as well as make it more comfy. But no, my friends, sadly, hiding buckle rash is not why that's there. This is why it is there. It's a very early chambered Les Paul. That's very similar to how the Gibson Custom Shop does it nowadays. However, their center block goes down a little bit further. Check out the Les Paul Florentine episode that we had just did. So they took some sort of a router, they put a shelf on just the edge, and they really just went to town here. This is one big connected chamber. Things are looking a little bit messy down here, but we've got just enough wood right there that we can still sink a Schaller strap lock into it. Kind of reminds me of my basket case Les Paul special that we documented a couple of years ago, where somebody planed down the back half of it and went too far and exposed the pickup cavities, because that's what you're actually seeing right here is the backside of the P90s. That's funny, but then you get all the wiring and that stuff's looking pretty good, and your toggle switch up there. And they've proved it's not a Photoshop job because there's more than one photo angle here. The routed lip looks pretty good, but everything else as far as the boring of the holes definitely looked a little bit more crude, because hear me out, I've heard rumors that Gibson actually made a few chambered Les Pauls in the 50s for Mary Ford. Now, I've never seen one of those or really heard anybody talk in deep detail of knowing that they exist, because let's face it, I could see Les doing this to a guitar to make his then wife happy. But that's what I was hoping at first, but I just don't think this is professional enough to have been factory stock. In fact, I'm not even questioning that at all once this big backplate cover was removed. But they've got a whole bunch of photos here, including one with the backplate beside it. And ooh, nice. It looks like we've got the original Clusons, should we wish to install them again, and the original parts to our trapeze tailpiece. So if you're wondering what these marks were around here, the original trapeze rests on the top of the guitar with these two pieces, so they left some marks when they removed it. Because despite the top being refinished, they have also modified that bridge to utilize something a little bit different. Because if you didn't know, the original 52, 53 Goldtops, they forgot to take into account the belly carve of the guitar, so you had to underwrap the strings, which made palm muting hard, so most people don't like the original Les Pauls. That's why they're not as expensive. But there's modern day solutions, so you don't have to do stuff like this anymore. But it's correctly top wrapped now, so it's probably actually plays pretty alright. So yeah, what an interesting piece. So now we can revisit the price tag. Do you think this is worth $15,000? In my opinion, I think it should probably be closer to 8,000 because it would make a weird, quirky player for someone, but I just think there's been too much messed with this one. I mean, the right guy could take the neck off, could take the maple top off, transplant them onto a brand new mahogany body, and then make a 59 burst conversion out of it. But usually most people that buy those, they want all the original wood or only the top replaced. So it'll definitely take a special buyer for that one. But I'm curious, would you guys rather have the completely routed out 53 Les Paul? Or one from 1954 that has the double cutaway mod to it. In case you have missed this episode, we documented it about a year ago. It's still in my shop on consignment. And all things considered, it's mainly original outside of this double cutaway. But it started life as one of the wrap tails, so it had a little bit more value going for it in the beginning because it was from 54, but it was converted to an ABR1 setup. And with the double cutaway mod, we had to bring our toggle switch down here. And we get a semi-access heel carve to it. So this is another one of those guitars where, you know, nobody really wants to take it for a restoration project. It just takes somebody who wants to use it and play it as it is. Because let's face it, if you want an affordable 50s vintage, usually it's lovers pieces like these that get left on the market. So if you're looking for something like that, turn our long neck tenons frown upside down, make them happy, take them home. I don't care which, the 53 or the 54. Somebody's got to give these modded guitars a home. For me personally, not accounting how much each could be had money-wise, I think I would prefer the routed out original 50s because you can freak people out with it in a different way that the double cut freaks people out. Because from the top, it still looks the part. You could probably get somebody to refinish it to make it look better, but I've never been a big double cut fan in general. But hey, if you're still watching, you must like modified guitars. Let's check out the 75 custom that was just listed 16 minutes ago. Truss rodded cover is looking about era correct. We can tell it's been refretted because we don't have fret nibs. You likely have replaced Grover tuners, but we'll have to look at some more photos. Yep, that confirms everything we need to see there. So, since we've got another finish within our serial number, we know it likely did not start this color. It looks like it might have been an ebony finish, and it had the Kluson Waffleback tuners. That's why there's another hole over here. Oh boy, yeah, something happened to that thing. So we got replaced knobs, although it looks like they try to put ambered ones on to make them look original. And if we go back to this photo, we can tell it's a mahogany neck. It looks like 3 pieces, so they might be right with the date. They're definitely within the era. However, somebody has routed out our ABR1 for Nashville studs, unless that just happened to be a slightly old neck, because this is like right when that bridge starts to get introduced, but judging by everything else being replaced on this thing, probably routed out at some point in time, because that's definitely not the original pick guard, and our finish has really been worn through. But whoa, is that a 2-piece top? Maybe they just retopped the entire thing when they refinned it. Our back is looking pretty good though. And we do have our pancake body construction with thin binding in the cutaway. 3-piece neck with Schaller strap locks. Can't quite tell if there's a repair there or not. So this one is a bit of a basket case, but the seller says it plays and sounds great. He doesn't mention a headstock repair, so maybe it's good, but this definitely seems to be from a shop that doesn't necessarily specialize in Gibson guitars. So that's why if you're ever looking at something and you would like my opinion on it, I do offer private help sessions on my website. I have very low hopes that those are the original pickups in there. And he's saying that the pots date to 1973, and in the early 70s, that is the best way to date the guitar. However, we don't have access to these photos right now. So that's what I would say it is. Refinished, really beat up, and everything's been replaced. Assuming we don't have a headstock crack here, I'd probably suggest to be around that 2,500-ish range. So they're really not that far off. Here's a pretty cool 2007 Gibson SG. I always like finding unique wood-grained examples. This is far from the craziest we've ever seen, but the really ringy, big grain examples always catch my attention. Oh, and especially since you get it on the back. I mean, if you're gonna own a standard production SG, there might as well be something special to it. But oh, from 2007, late 07. It was produced in that era where these SGs got an obnoxiously large headstock. Ouch, some sort of a ding on the side of the neck. And to end out tonight's episode, let's take a look at this Les Paul Custom, listed for about $5,000 from a seller in France. Do you notice what's different? We've got a shiny pick guard in the shape of a thunderbolt. I don't know, I like it. I really like wine red Les Paul Customs when they have been ultra aged like this. They have the yellowed lacquer. Otherwise, I'm not all that interested. So having these brass parts put on here really just kind of works with the whole vibe this thing has. And oh my goodness, I see it now. I thought that was a reflection. That is literally cut out. I don't know, maybe that's a little bit too gaudy for my taste now. I thought that was just a big, bright, shiny, reflective brass pick guard. But it looks like we even got these giant brass knobs. This is definitely a child of the late 70s, early 80s. And it's been played and worn in hard. But the guitar itself was made in 1976, that we can find out by looking at the serial number. Appears the tuners are still original. Definitely had a refret, so that's good. It can be played for many more years. We've got Schaller strap locks on it. And oh yeah, that thing's been played, but why do you need that? That's a Allen key wrench at the back of the headstock, but nothing on this guitar uses an Allen wrench. Maybe he just puts it on all of them so he can easily find it if he needs it for guitars that do need that adjustment. All right, Troglodytes, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.